The Grandpa Tree. Story by Mike Donahue. Illustrations by Susan Dorsey. The Grandpa Tree. One day, a bird was flying through the sky with a seed in its mouth. When a moth flew by, the bird dropped the seed and caught the moth. The seed fell to the ground. Rains came, and the seed soon began to grow. Tiny green branches stretched toward the sun. The sun was good to the new tree. His tiny branches became bigger and stronger and stretched even further toward the sun. Soon summer was over and fall came. Fall was a fun time for the tree. All day long a breeze would toss dry leaves onto the little tree's branches. The little tree would shake until the leaves would once again fall into the wind. Play ended as snows came. Snow fell and got deeper and deeper until the little tree was completely covered. There's a hawk. Seasons came and went, years went by, and the little tree grew into a big tree. Squirrels played in its branches, birds built their nests, and baby birds sang their first songs. Pine cones grew and fell from the big tree. There are the pine cones. Soon around him, new baby trees were stretching their tiny green branches toward the sun. The big tree grew until he was the biggest tree in all the forest. His strong branches wrestled with the fierce winter winds, slowing them down and making them play gently with the baby trees below. Armloads of snow piled high on his boughs, while little handfuls rested gently on the small young branches of the younger trees. During the hot summer suns, the big tree's long branches reached out with shade for the tender young trees. As the big tree grew old, the baby trees grew up. Squirrels played in their branches. Birds built their nests, and baby birds sang their first songs. Pine cones grew and fell from the new trees. Soon, their baby trees were stretching their tiny green branches toward the sun. They're showing us the moose, the rabbit, the squirrel, the wolf, and some needles and cones. Who's this? Is that Grandpa Tree? And the younger ones that are now mature and the tiny ones are growing down below. The branches of the old Grandpa Tree were no longer needed by the younger trees. What they needed now was room to grow. One at a time, the old Grandpa Tree dropped his great branches to the ground, making room for the younger trees. The younger trees grew until they were the greatest trees in all the forest. And now his branches are falling, and these ones are getting to be the tallest. There's a resting deer, branches on the ground. One winter day, the old Grandpa Tree began to rock and creak in the wind. He called to all of the younger trees, and he said, "Once I was the greatest tree in all the forest, just as you are now. My branches were big and strong. They could wrestle with the fiercest of the winter winds, hold up under the heaviest snow, and block the hottest sun. You were the baby trees then, and I watched you grow. As your branches grew strong and needed more room, mine dropped to the ground. Now I am needed on the ground to be a home for rabbits and food for flowers. So my children, remember the youth. As they need room to grow, leave them a world where their branches can spread as freely and greatly as yours do now. At that moment, a great wind swept through the forest. Crash! The grandpa tree fell to the ground. Soon a mother rabbit was building a home under the grandpa tree, and baby rabbits were playing on his trunk. Ants were building their home also, biting little bits of sawdust and dropping them from their doorstep. There are the ants. The sawdust mixed with dirt and became food for flowers. Soon the old tree was surrounded by beautiful colors. More rabbits played on his trunk, and more ants dropped sawdust from their doorsteps. The old grandpa tree became just a brown streak on the ground. One day, a bird flew through the sky with a seed in its mouth. A moth flew by, and the bird dropped the seed and caught the moth. The seed landed right beside the old grandpa tree. Rains came, and soon little green branches were stretching toward the sun.